And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfrow.
He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers.
Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and good Monday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, MotleyRice.com, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com. Make sure that you have downloaded our app. I know so many of you have, and we are really, really thankful for that. But tell everybody you can, your friends, your family, somebody that doesn't like the sports radio or TV or wherever they might be, you have us wherever you are. Take us wherever you want to. Download the app, and you can always, when you do, order vintage gear there. You don't have to be a Carolina fan or Clemson fan. You can be a fan of anybody, and you can order your vintage gear right there on the front page of our app, where you can also listen and you can watch and you can comment. And when you do, we'll put you in the Share Healthcare chat lines, and we'll put you into the program. We'll have some fun throughout the afternoon. We're going to certainly do that today. Nothing happened over the weekend, so there's really nothing to talk about. So we'll probably transition to favorite foods and things of that nature. Yeah, right. Crazy March Madness stuff, obviously, to get to. Brady's back. I'm sure you've heard. Golf is on the course today. Baseball is in spring training. South Carolina, by the way, took down top-ranked Texas at Founders Park this weekend. It was a wild weekend of stuff. Mike Uva joins us at 12:30. Scott Wingo joins us at 1:05, and Gene Sapakoff at about 1:35. And we probably don't have enough time in 2 hours to get through all of it, but we're going to try. I promise you that. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. With all that said, Darren, gold jacket, green jacket. That's right. Good afternoon, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. Had a lot of fun last night with the brackets coming out and kind of watching it from a completely different perspective there last night. I know Carolina Nation is like jacked up, right, because of the baseball team. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I watch college baseball this weekend. I did not watch college baseball this weekend because there was great basketball on and theater on all throughout the weekend, and that included the players. And there's like 20 guys who are in contention today. So that fourth round, if it hasn't started yet, it's about to start. I think the leaders go off at about 1, just a little bit before 1, and then after 1. So it's going to be another good day.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be another great day. It's almost, it almost worked out great for the golf. And the fact that it didn't finish on Sunday. They get a day today because everything else is, it's over.
Yeah.
We got all that. I mean, Brady did everything he could to upstage everybody yesterday. And so the golf guys are going to get the fourth round to themselves down at Ponte Vedra. And we'll see how it all works out right now at the top of the leaderboard, which I know everybody does not necessarily care about golf at the top of the show, but we'll just tell you who's on top of the leaderboard. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. Lahiri is the leader at 9 under. How do you pronounce his first name?
Lahiri? It's something like that. I'm not sure. Lahiri is the last name. I mean, that's definitely how you got the last name.
Yeah, I knew that. I don't know his first name. Paul Casey, Sam Burns, Sebastian Munoz, and Doug Gim are all tied at 8 under. Everybody's going, where are all the other guys? Well,
not far.
No, Zalatoris has a shot. He's at 6 under, 3 shots back. He'll tee off in about 13 minutes and a few others. So we'll keep our eyes on it, certainly. But the weather played tricks down at the Players all weekend long. All right, obviously, there's a lot to get to. We're going to weave through it, okay? The Share Healthcare chat lines, those are yours. So you comment and plug them in, and we'll plug it in, and we're just going to do the best we can here. I'll go to the chat lines first, and then I'm going to get to the brackets. Clint says, obviously talking about Carolina baseball this weekend, looks like they may have found a weekend starter. In fact, I think Becker has better stuff than Sanders. Yeah, he was something. Adam says, what a comeback and statement from the Yardcocks. Ryan, is Darren going full Rob Lowe NFL hat with the NCAA polo?
Yeah, what's that about? I don't quite understand that.
I don't know.
It's a D2 polo here. I'll give you that. But I don't know. Rob Lowe hat?
I must have missed that. Explain it, Ryan, so we can make fun of him. Explain that a little bit better. Craig, more on Becker. He should be starting on Saturday until he doesn't. Hey, Aaron, good to see you back. And an Earbon, an Earbon, yeah, is how I think it's pronounced from Adam. Okay, all right. Well, thank you. I'll forget, but I really appreciate that. To the brackets, and then certainly into to South Carolina here in just a minute. Darren, every year there's one, and I think this year everybody knows who it is. It's A&M that everybody's talking about. We'll get to them in just a second. As far as the 4-1 seeds, I believe everybody's in agreement. They got it right, the 4 1s. I don't think there was much question unless an Auburn or a Kentucky.
Really by Sunday, because Sunday didn't so much matter. I mean, it was set. The ones were set.
Yeah, the ones were set. The twos, that's kind of where my issue is with Duke. Do you have an issue with that?
I understand why people are upset, but the committee did a great job. I mean, they always do a great job. There's really nothing that I'd complain about. I understand the A&M thing. I get that. I thought they would have been in. Okay. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, who did you think they would have been in over?
Michigan.
Okay. Yeah.
But I also think Michigan has a decent draw too.
Yeah. I'll throw this at you, Darren, not to interrupt you, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this because you and I will differ from time to time on a lot of these things. And, but I although I don't agree with it always, I like your approach because you see it a little bit differently. So I wanted to get your thoughts before I threw mine out there to see if they might change a little bit.
Well,
that's the way conversations should happen.
Yeah, I understand the anger and the furor over Tennessee. I just don't have that same anger because, number one, they're not going to be ahead of Kentucky and Auburn. They're not going to be ahead of Villanova, who won the Big East. So then it's just them and Duke. And can you make the easy argument that they could be in there over Duke? Yeah, you can. But I'm not going to get all up in arms about being the last two or the first three and where they end up going. So the fury last night bothered me because it was like, God, man, find a better hobby. Find something better to do than jump off a bridge because Tennessee is the first three instead of the second two. I think a lot of that's driven by dislike for Coach K for a lot of people. And there are a lot of numbers that do support that argument. I'm just not going to sit here and really get all up in arms about it because by and large, they did a really good job like they always do.
So I thought, here's my real issue with it. I did think Tennessee deserved a 2 seed because the resume is just better. I mean, hands down better. But my bigger issue had less to do with that and more to do with the fact that literally nobody who was asked about it had an answer. Lenardi's not on the committee. Okay, so I want to give him a little bit of a pass on that. He is not on the committee, so he is not in any way, shape, or form obligated to supply any type of legitimate answer to why Tennessee is a 3 and not a 2. That being said, he is the face of ESPN for bracketology, so he's going to get questions. And when responses are they just weren't going to do it, yeah, that ain't going to cut it. We need to hear more that, the vice chairman for the committee ramble on about Wisconsin and everybody's going, huh? What are you talking about? We're not talking about Wisconsin. We're talking about Tennessee and why they're on the 3 line and why is Duke on the 2 line. So my real, what got me, not like I wasn't all upset about it last night. I was just kind of laying around and then went to bed. I'm with you. I wasn't going to lose sleep, but they need to, the point of seeding is to get people where they should be seated and to get it right. And if there's no real legitimate response or reasoning as to why Tennessee's a 3 and Duke is a 2, except for, well, they just weren't going to do it. That's a problem. Like, you got to have more substance than that.
I think, number one, you can make this case all day long, and it's going to be hard for anyone, me included, anyone, to look at you and say that doesn't make sense, because it does. It makes a lot of sense that Tennessee should be up at number 2 over Duke. It's the only team in there. I see Clint commenting in here about Kentucky. The regular season's put it over the top. I mean, Kentucky and Auburn are ahead of Tennessee here. There's no question about that. So I understand where you're coming from. As for Lunardi, I liked his answer, because his answer was, I've been doing this for 20 years and I know how they think and what they're doing, because he can't give an exact answer. Like you said, he's not on the committee, but he can give an answer of, no one's followed this longer and closer than I have, and I can tell you that wasn't going to happen. Do you want something more than that from the committee? Yeah, ideally. But what are they going to do? Come out and just blatantly say what everyone knows? Sunday doesn't really matter that much, guys, and this was pretty much done, so they're going to be a number 3. Because that is largely the answer to that question. And then at the end of the day, I'm just not that bothered by it, because yeah, you can have the conversation, but to me, last night, today, this week is far more about, man, look at this matchup and look at that matchup. And I mean, I haven't even filled out a complete bracket, but just looking at different matchups and the excitement of the matchups and the uniqueness of a lot of the matchups, that I'm not going to spend any time saying, my God, Tennessee should have been 1 spot higher. Not even 4 spots higher, like a 3 to a 2, 1 spot higher. I understand where people are coming from here, but I'm not losing sleep over that.
Yeah, look, we're certainly going to turn our attention definitely, today throughout the week to the matchups. I don't agree with you, though. I don't think that it's a slam dunk that Kentucky is better than Tennessee. They had the same record, and the Vols beat them twice this year. And when you look at their metrics and you compare them, they are eerily similar, except for the fact of a couple of things. One, Tennessee has 2 more quad 1 wins than Kentucky does. And number 2, the out-of-conference strength of schedule for Kentucky is 121, Tennessee's 16.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Vols had a real case. I don't know that they should have been a 2 over Kentucky, but they absolutely should have been a 2 over Duke. And there should have been probably 3 SEC lines on the 2 line, 3 SEC teams on the 2 line, and Duke should have been a 3.
That's one of the reasons why it didn't happen as well, because they didn't want to do that. I don't know what the precedent is for one league having, say, 3 or more all on the same seed line, but I promise you they didn't want to do that. And in their eyes, I mean, I hear you in the Tennessee conversation. There's a lot of love behind Kentucky. I'm still there as well. So they're not above Kentucky. There's not in my eyes, not in most people's eyes. Duke, I get that. So to me, it's really just about that one thing there, Duke. And then are they going to put 3 teams from one league on that line? And no. So that's why, to me, okay, I mean, I get it, but there's no skin off my back.
So let me, and I'm not trying to hold your feet to the fire again. Mm-hmm. You're not a voting member of the committee, but why? Like, if there's 3 teams from one, I don't care what league it is. I don't care if it's the SEC, the ACC, the SoCon. If there are 3 teams deserving of a 2 seed or a 1 seed or a 3 seed or a 7 seed, who cares? Like, isn't the point to seed these teams where they're supposed to be seated?
That's fair, but we all know how these committees work, particularly in just the last, 2 decades of college sports and stuff. It matters for conferences to be spread out. That's what committees have told us. I mean, that's absolutely what committees have told us. We saw it. We see that when it comes for the 4 teams in the playoff too, and the push right down to the 4 who eventually make it. There's a lot of talk about, well, maybe keep this team, Cincinnati or somebody else, slid up a little higher than the SEC, and you just don't want that many in one spot. It's, I don't know, human nature. Maybe that's, I don't have a great logic for it other than to say we know that happens, and that happens.
Yeah, I think it's sad, to be honest. Like, it shouldn't. I mean, the point of the committee should be to get it right, period, the end. I don't care who the teams are and where they come from. Where do they deserve to be? They deserve to be a 1. They deserve to be a 2. They deserve to be forget all the other stuff. That's what the point of a resume is for. And again, the responses last night to some of these questions, there were no responses. They were largely garbage. Like the vice chairman again rambling on about Wisconsin. I was like, nobody asked you about Wisconsin. That was really weird. Okay, I
think it benefits Tennessee though. All said and done, where they are, I think it benefits them. I do think they are in a position. There's one thing I don't like. It's that everybody feels like, oh, Tennessee got screwed, so now they're going to make a deep run, and that gives me a little pause. And then there's Michigan standing right there, and everyone's saying they shouldn't be in. Normally, we see an 11 seed or 12. Nah, they should never get in, and they win a game or two. So both of those things I question. But I do think Tennessee is situated in a spot that probably favors them over where they could have been as a 2.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. If they took Duke's place as a 2, they'd be in Gonzaga's side of the bracket. And
that's the hardest bracket too.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult bracket, you know, and so I don't necessarily disagree with that. There's probably a silver lining to it for the Vols. Again, I'm not necessarily complaining. I just feel like there are some things in this system that need to be changed if we're seeding teams for any reasons other than where they deserve to be seated based on what they have done. The other thing that bothered me, and I heard Lenardi say it yesterday, was, and I don't have the exact quote, so I don't want to put words in his mouth, but for lack of better words, a lot of these championship games on Sunday, they don't really matter. Then we don't need to play them on Sunday. Then we need to make sure that all these things are done by Saturday.
Back them up.
Period. The end. You know, because that there is zero reason. Why do you have a tournament with a championship game? Like, the point of playing a tournament is to win the championship. So obviously we watch it. There's a reason why we watch it. We've been all excited about it. People are betting on it left and right. I mean, this is very important. There's a lot that goes into this. And then we have people who are tied in with the big dogs in college basketball telling us, well, these games, they just really don't matter when they're played on Sunday. Then we don't need to play them on Sunday. And if they don't matter, period, then we just need to cancel the tournament. Let's just worry about the regular season, which that's not true. So if they don't have enough time to evaluate teams, or if for whatever reason, if that's their excuse, I kind of feel like it is, then they need to play it on Saturday or Friday.
I'm cool with that. Mike Young said it's pretty clear to him, and he could be right, I'm not sure, that had they not beaten, that's Virginia Tech coach, obviously, had they not beaten Duke, he's not sure they'd have been in. I think he may have even used stronger language on the other side, saying they probably would not have been in, but that was his point. That game was on Saturday. The only thing yesterday that really could have impacted stuff would have been if A&M won, because that would have put them in the tournament.
Period.
And then, and then who knows where they would have been, but that probably would have knocked Michigan out. And then there wouldn't be any argument about this Tennessee thing, because then they'd be on that 3 line anyway, at least, right? And then Richmond stole a bid yesterday, so that mattered also. But clearly, and this has been the way it's been for a while, right? I mean, it's hard to remember one where a Sunday really impacted a seed for a team that was already getting in. So I'm totally cool with backing everything up. Games are done Saturday, and we run Selection Sunday on Sunday.
I agree. I mean, that's what they told us yesterday. It was that, some of this doesn't matter. Every championship, I don't care what league it is, every championship game should matter. We should not have the leaders of this sport saying things like that publicly, at least in my opinion. I see Rodney's question in the Share Healthcare chat lines. What about Texas A&M being left out? And that's where we're going, because A&M played in that game yesterday. So, here's the good for A&M, which was, there's a lot of it, right? They've got 9 quad 1, quad 2 victories on the season, 4-10 in quad 1, 5-0 in quad 2. Obviously got hot at the right time. They went 8-2 in their final 10 games. Their net ranking is at 43, 23 overall wins, 22 that counted towards those net rankings, 5 wins on the road, only 2 losses in quad 3 or quad 4. Their strength of record is a neat little stat. It sits at 37 on the year. I thought they should have been in, and I know everybody knows that I'm an SEC guy. That had nothing to do with it. I don't care what league they're in. I thought they were in. I asked you earlier over who, and you said Michigan, and I don't disagree with you there. I do think Michigan had a lot of really good wins this year, even with their record at 17-14. And I tweeted out yesterday that Michigan's in and A&M isn't. Basically, what are we doing here? But let me throw another couple in the mix. One is Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the other one I would jump to immediately.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I've got two of them for you, Darren, and I know you'll have some pushback on one because of how many quad 1, quad 2 wins they have, and that's Miami. And I'm not saying that Miami shouldn't be in. All I'm saying is by that standard, A&M should probably be in there too. Notre Dame at 53 in the net rankings, 21-10 overall, counting towards those net rankings, only had 4 combined quad 1, quad 2 victories this year. Now, I don't think that they had any quote-unquote bad losses. With that being said, judging the strength of the league, the ACC is not what the ACC has been. So I would have a much stronger argument for A&M over even Notre Dame than Michigan.
I'm with you with Notre Dame and Michigan. Miami is right in the mix. I mean, they're fair comparisons there. I thought A&M should have been in. So you could take any one of those. I mean, Michigan, my first thought. Notre Dame's my second thought.
Yeah.
You could throw Miami
Indiana.
In. Indiana, I was more for just than I was the other two, Notre Dame and Miami, right there. Indiana's more solidly in my eyes, at least.
Than Notre Dame and
Notre Dame and Miami. Yeah,
right, okay.
And
Michigan.
Indiana over Michigan there. Yeah, okay. Certainly. I mean they beat them.
Yeah, and I was just throwing it out there. That's all.
So yes, I'm cool. I'm cool with Indiana. That was a teetering thing towards the end of the year and into the tournament. But once they did what they did early in the Big Ten, I was cool with them. And yeah, I thought A&M should have been in, but that was really it for me. Those were the only two things where I said, okay. Yeah. When I saw Michigan pop up, my first thought was, oh wow, Michigan's in. Oh man, A&M's going to be left out of this. That was my first thought when I saw Michigan pop up. So it surprised me, but that's my only and I don't think A&M had enough to make a deep run, so I'm not going to sit here and lose sleep over that. So it was that, and Tennessee being 3. Both of those things to me are relatively minor things, but yeah, I agree. A&M should have been in.
Yeah, I totally. I mean, that was the one. I mean, Darren, I think the rest of it is, you really, I don't know. I don't know of any other team that should have been in. I mean, I don't think Dayton should have been in. So yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, we agree with that. And outside of that, from a seeding standpoint, largely, I think they all pretty much got it right. I mean, but those two things stand out, and that's what everybody's going to talk about naturally. That's the way that it works. But yeah, I thought A&M got pretty shafted. There's one every year, basically.
Yeah.
And they were it this year. That was,
they're picking 68. So you miss on one. Okay. So that's why in the end I was all right with it. I thought they should have been in. I thought they should have been in comfortably before we even got to the SEC championship game. I mean, their path to get there, yeah, they had done enough, I think, in a lot of people's eyes, but they're the one. They're the one that you say, man, it stinks for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we have so much to get to on South Carolina, and we have Mike Uva coming up next, and then Scott Wingo and Gene Sapakoff. So there's going to be a lot on Frank Martin and his future. We're absolutely going to talk about the ladies being the number 1 overall seed and Iowa being the 2 seed in their bracket as well, which hopefully we'll get a chance to see maybe the 2 finalists for the National Player of the Year square off. I do want to hit on some of the coaching stuff that's going on out there as well, Darren, and we're obviously going to be talking about brackets. I don't know. By the way, I haven't picked a bracket, so I don't have any opinion yet on who's going to win this whole thing.
Here, look, this is mine. I have not. I have some things that are filled. I haven't filled it out. It's going to be. I know what it'll be. It'll be a lot of chalk. Like I said for weeks now, we'll see a couple upsets here and there, and you're already hearing about a lot of the popular picks for those upsets. But at the end of the day, here, these are the better teams. Here are going to be the ones in the end. Maybe some teams with that you were not aware because you weren't following it that closely, something like that. But it's the major brands that will be around.
I think so. I would agree with that. I would say if there is anybody to keep an eye on in the Western region with Gonzaga, it's third-seeded Texas Tech. I like Texas Tech. I would say that might be the one team that could really pull a stunner. I mean, I give a lot of credit to Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I like Arkansas. I mean, I think that they could do it. But I like Texas Tech over there in the 3 seed, especially after watching them play in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, people will tell you about Gonzaga. The one thing that can really bother them, if you're really physical, really get into them, and that's what Texas Tech does. So if that is the matchup, that's a game to watch.
No doubt. I totally agree, Darren. In the SEC, Quanzo Martin is out at Missouri. Tom Crean out at Georgia. Georgia's hiring Mike White from Florida, so they have an opening. Will Wade finally got fired, which if anybody read the report, wow. Not only was he paying players, he got blackmailed by the fiance of a player for a new ride, essentially. Hey, I need more for the down payment, Will. I thought we were done. Now we ain't done. I got to buy this car first. We're done. So he's out. And we're waiting to see what happens at South Carolina. Ben Howland's going to coach Mississippi State in the NIT, but reports have surfaced that he's not going to make it in Mississippi State. So you could talk. You're going to be talking about, Darren. Basically, half the league is going to have coaching openings this year. Maybe if it happens, for sure at Mississippi State and in South Carolina. But you've already had LSU, Georgia, Florida, Missouri. That's it, right? Those 4. LSU,
Georgia, Florida, Missouri. Right. Then Mississippi State is a possibility,
and South Carolina is a possibility.
It's interesting. We had someone in the Share Healthcare chat line point out exactly what my belief is, that Mike White went to Georgia, to get out before they got him in Florida. So no that being part of this, we've got 5, 6, whatever we just decided openings. To me, you know what that says? That the SEC, the schools around the league right now, are saying, wow, our league has just been elevated this year. The quality of coach, the quality of play, the quality of players. And if we're not certain where we are, the time to move is now. Because if you don't move now, then you're going to fall farther behind. That's what it says to me around the league, that we have half the league that's pulling a trigger right now.
Yeah, and you wonder how much pressure that is applying to the folks in Columbia and the decisions that they need to make up there. Mike is going to give us an update on that coming up in just a second. It's wild. It's very footballish. It feels very footballish. We've had this a couple of times with football. Coach. Oh, guy stays in the league, goes to a rival. That's happening now in basketball. It's just unbelievable. I was going to read some of the stuff from the Share Healthcare chat lines, but there you go. Jan did say UGA needed a home run hire. Not sure that's what they got. I'm not sure either, Jan, but I think Mike White is still a good hire for Georgia. I mean, I think they thought they got a home run in Tom Crean, and that wasn't a home run. I mean, he was bad. So as Mike Morgan often says, it's a total crapshoot. Yep. And Georgia is hiring a guy that does know his way around the league, and he's a pretty good recruiter too. And there's a heck of a lot of basketball being played in Atlanta and in Augusta. So Mike White might have a chance to reel in some big time dudes. Jamie does say we should keep Frank one more year. And, Jamie, there's a lot of people out there that agree with you. And as you well know, there's a lot of people that wholeheartedly disagree. It's a hot topic. And we'll get an update on it here in just a minute. Plus, did you hear? Number 1 went down twice at Founders Park this weekend. The Gamecocks swept the Longhorns in a doubleheader yesterday. And Scott Wingo is going to tell us about it here in just a little while. What a pick-me-up for Gamecock baseball. Full boat. Tom Brady's back, the whole 9 yards. Keep checking in on the Share Healthcare chat lines. You can comment on the app as well, and we'll get them. We'll read them. Hang tight. Mike Uva up next on the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle, and we'll take any trade in any condition. even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or StokesVW.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about. Stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
It's the best time of the year on the sports calendar, and there's no better place to soak it all in than your spring headquarters. Dog and Duck with 3 area locations in Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road. Until May, $5 pints of Wicked Weed Brews and Devil's Backbone, again, until May. Patio seating, happy hour daily, family bingo on Monday, the Duck Truck Double Burger every Wednesday, rib night on Friday. It's the place to be for the best wings in town, the best sports everywhere you look. Dog and Duck, 3 area locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and
well, you're welcome, Patrick. See you next month, pal. And then the month after that, and the month after that. My dear friend. For those of you that don't listen to Patrick Davis, you should probably reevaluate your situation. Head to patrickdavismusic.com and buy some damn tickets. He's going to be in Camden. He's going to be here at the Windjammer, and we all know he's playing before the spring game. Uh-oh, Mikey's got a hat on. What's the event? What happened to the hair, man?
It just means I got too much crap going on that I don't have time. As you can see, I'm in a different location. My room, my office is no more. The moving process, it's still going, but I
wait. Is that a Brady print above you?
Of course. Well, I don't have anything else up in here, so I'm like, well, it's appropriate to put the Tom Brady book up there. I need to put something.
Oh, that's a book.
Oh man,
that's a book.
I don't want to get up because I have like pajama bottoms on, but
I thought it was like a portrait of his face.
That is the TB12 method. So I'm just gonna start the show by saying, Tom Brady comes back in 40 days, and I know another guy that came back after 40 days. So I just saying, I've never seen the two guys in the room before, the same guy. If you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, oh God. Yes, I know.
I'm sure I'm gonna make so many Southerners very upset after that. It's a joke. It's a joke, guys. It's a Monday. Lighten up. We already have one person upset with Colin's khaki pants on Twitter. That's what's going on.
I just saw that.
Someone's upset about someone else's pants.
Well, it's a combination. He says that we're mean, not just me, that South Carolina Gamecock media members are mean to fans. Like, really? Really?
Yeah, that's what you're trying to do.
Holy cow. I should go back and find that quote from Frank Martin a couple of years ago when he said, I think fans were upset that he was yelling at one of his players to go check in. He's like, what do they want? Do they want me to pick them up and place them nicely at the table? I mean, is that what, do we just all just want to hug each other and everything, kumbaya, holding hands and singing? Oh my goodness. This is only friggin' Monday, and I got to deal with other crap adult stuff that I don't like dealing with. So it's fun. It's a great Monday.
I'm going to plug my man Tim into that category. Timmy, what's the deal? What we say to you? First of all, Patrick getting country music, number one. Country music doesn't suck. I mean, come on, man. All right. Let's talk about sports, Mike. Let's talk about sports if that's all right. Let's start with the ladies. We've been fussing and discussing the bracket. We're going to get to Frank in a minute. We're obviously going to talk about the baseball team. Scott Wingo comes up at 105 today, and he kind of knows what happened this weekend. He was, coaching. But South Carolina is the top overall seed, as we expected, and we don't know who they're going to play yet. It's a play-in game between UIW and Howard. University of Indiana Whitewater, is that right? And Howard?
It is. I'm trying to make sure
they're not going to lose to a 16 seed. It doesn't matter.
Incarnate Ward.
Yeah, all right. Incarnate Ward. I just saw UIW. I didn't even look at the UIW. That's how
I had never. And apparently they have a football team too. And I'm sorry. I mean, I went to a school that some people think is made up school, so I get it. I'm there. But they have a football program. Did not know they had a football program. So shout out to the Cards or wherever the heck they are.
All right. Yeah. Shout out. Well, they're not going to have much of a shot against Carolina in the opening round of the ladies tournament in Columbia coming up this Friday. It's a 2:00 tip, by the way, on Friday on ESPN. So as soon as we're off we'll be off there at noon on Friday, Darren. So Mike, they're expected to win the national championship this year. How are they handling it?
Well, I mean, that's something I asked Don in the press conference yesterday, right after Selection Sunday. I said, look, going into this season, you understand that the bar has been risen to a point that is so high externally that it gets to a point that if you don't reach at least the national championship, that this season is a failure. So, how do you manage that? And Dawn was very candid and she was very honest. She said that the last couple of days going back to their loss against Kentucky in the SEC Tournament Championship, that has been something that they have been talking about daily at practice. And it got brought up a couple times throughout the season that the goal this year is to win a national championship. And in order to do that, they have to play like a national championship team. They have to be able to do the little things that they struggled with, not just in the fourth quarter against Kentucky, but in the fourth quarter of the semifinals the day before. They need to be able to protect the basketball. They need to finish their layups, and they just need to be able to play defense. I mean, look, we can sit here and talk about how South Carolina, between those two fourth quarters from women's basketball in the semifinals and the championship, they only converted 2 field goals. We can sit here and talk about that, but the big thing is, the bigger issue is how they let teams come back. And obviously Kentucky was able to not just come back, but win it. From a defensive standpoint, just how poorly they played. And when you have some of the players that they have and you look at the stat sheet, it wasn't like they were in foul trouble. They just, for whatever reason, they just struggled to play defense strongly. And they played great defense in the first half against both those teams. But for whatever reason, they just fell apart in the fourth. So I think, look, I'm not one of these people that sit here and say, oh, they needed that against Kentucky. That's a load of crap. That's a load of crap. There's some people that are going to, I'm not going to pick on. I got to be careful what I say, going back to what we said. I'm hurting Gamecock fans' feelings on Twitter. Sorry if I'm hurting your feelings, but it's the truth. They didn't need that, because the day before they had that wake-up call and they were able to win. You get close, and you don't need a loss for a wake-up call. You can get close enough to that point where you're able to say, oh, shoot, yeah, we got to fix some things. I mean, that semifinals, in my opinion, was their wake-up call. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for them. So you hope that they're able to walk away, not just from that loss against Kentucky, but from those last 2 days, last 2 fourth quarters in particular, and they're able to say, hey, look, we're a good team when we play well, but we need to put it all together, and we need to do it for an entire game.
We know what the expectation is now at South Carolina for Dawn. She set them. You go to the Final Four, and hopefully you can win a national championship. If they don't win a national championship, is this season a failure?
I think to some it's going to be. I think to some, in my opinion, it's about getting to that point. It's about getting to that point. Because they're
let me ask you this, Mike. Who can beat them? Who can beat them?
I think Stanford would be a good matchup. Yeah. I mean, the reason why is because Stanford has the height. Stanford has very good coaching. I feel like coaching is one of the most underrated elements of women's basketball. Maybe it's not underrated, but it just doesn't get talked about enough. Being able to have a good coach. I mean, you look at the history of women's basketball, it's just different from men's, and that's no slight against it. Slight against it. It's just that it's the reality. You look at some of the powerhouses, right? I mean, you could talk about men's basketball, and that's not to say that you don't have a good coach, but you can catch lightning in a bottle, and I know where that's going to go with some fans. It's not what I'm saying. Frank's a hell of a coach. But there's some coaches out there that, from a men's basketball standpoint, they get lucky. They do. They get lucky. They put themselves in a good situation. The team's playing well. But women's basketball, just in my opinion, it's just different. And if you have that coach that can be a game changer, and you have that, of course, at South Carolina, but you also have that at Stanford, I think that would be the team, in my opinion, that could really give South Carolina troubles because, number one, they've already played them. So now they already have something to go back on from a blueprint standpoint. And we know how Stanford played them for that first half. And then South Carolina fought and clawed their way back into it to win it in the second half. But on top of that, they're just a taller team. They're just a taller team. And you look at some of the teams that South Carolina has played this year. Yeah, there's been maybe a player or two that's pretty tall in comparison to what South Carolina has on their roster. But I feel like over the last couple of years, it seems like, especially in the NCAA tournament, when South Carolina plays these Pac-12 teams, they have more height. We've seen South Carolina go to maybe 3 guards on the court at sometimes even 4 guards, trying to use that speed to make up for it. So I'd be interested because you have 2 talented coaches that know each other quite well. Obviously, they played each other last year in the tournament as well. I think it'd be a chess match, but I think that would be the team that I'd be most worried about. I mean, there's still a lot of talented teams out there. It's not going to be an easy path regardless. And Don said it too to the fams yesterday at the selection show party. Just because of the number 1 overall seed does not mean it's an easier path. I mean, just look who's in their region. I mean, they got to go through Kentucky if they make it that far, potentially. They might have to play Iowa, which ESPN is going to be treating as if it's the second coming of I wouldn't say second coming, third coming, because the second coming's Tom Brady. The third coming of Jesus. And I think the most amazing part about that is unless Caitlin Clark is driving in the lane, Aaliyah Boston and Clark will not be guarding each other. No. So it's not really facing each other, but, it'll be fun regardless if it does get to that point.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence they're in the same bracket. That didn't just happen.
No, I agree. I agree with that. But I'll also say of the 4 2 seeds, would y'all consider Iowa the 8th or the worst of the 4 2 seed? The weakest? Yeah.
I mean, and I could be wrong.
I mean, the other 2s are Texas, UConn, and Baylor.
I could be wrong because I'm not good with numbers, but from a bracket standpoint, that would make sense, right? I mean, you're going to put the lowest number 2 seed in that.
With the number 1 overall.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm thinking out loud, I think that's kind of how it works out. So, I mean, look, Iowa, they could have been a borderline 3 going into it, but I think being able to win that Big Ten championship, I think that really made the difference. And, look, I know there's some people, and maybe you guys might disagree with me. I know some people get caught up with the name, a team makes it because of a name. Maybe that happens sometimes. Women's basketball, I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, yeah, they made it because of Caitlin Clark. I think it's because they won the Big Ten championship. I think they were a team that, obviously, are they as good as South Carolina? No, but they were able to get hot at the right time. And as we've seen with both the women's and men's tournaments over the last couple of years, if you're able to catch fire at the right time, it could propel you into a higher seed than maybe what you, I wouldn't say deserve, because you definitely earned it if you win the tournament, but certainly well before going into the Big Ten tournament.
According to ESPN's BPI, the Gamecocks have a 29% chance to win the national championship. That is 5 points higher than Stanford at 24. South Carolina, as we all know, Mike, is 11-0 versus the AP ranked opponents this season. They've beaten pretty much everybody that's ranked in the top 10, but they're going to have to do it again in order to win the national championship, which will start for the Carolina women's basketball program on Friday at 2:00. All right, let's slide over to the men. They're not going to be in the postseason. They probably, I know that, Mike, I saw your tweet and I agree with you. There's some guys in that locker room who I'm sure are just thumped, like James Reese. That hurts. He comes home to try to get it turned around, and they did. They won 12 more games than they did last season, but they are not selected to play in the postseason. They do have an argument to be in the NIT. I think the argument is that the 9 of the top 10 teams in the league are playing in the postseason, and Carolina is the only one that isn't. And they actually finished tied for 5th at 9-9 and beat Vandy twice, who's in there with a 7-11 record. That being said, they had opportunities at the end of the year to win their way into the NIT at minimum, and they didn't do it. They got blown out by Mississippi State in the first round of the SEC tournament. So they're not playing in the postseason. We're not going to argue whether they should or shouldn't be in the NIT. Nobody at this point really cares. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen with Frank Martin. So the question I have for you is, do we expect to receive information in the near future on this situation?
I mean, as of right now, things are kind of quiet on that end. I think some people, had that knee-jerk reaction that they didn't make the NIT, and they instantly want to be like, all right, what's going on with Frank? Well, let's go back. Let's take a step back even before yesterday. Here's the facts. The reality is from a buyout standpoint, Frank would get paid just over $3 million if they were to move on from him before April 1st of this year. If they wait until April 1st, that buyout drops below $3 million. If Frank is retained and he fulfills his contract, at least for another season, if they want to move on from him after next year, after 2023, by April 1st, the buyout disappears altogether. So I throw that out there because I think that's always something important to remember, because we're not talking about monopoly money here. We're talking about real money. And, when you look at it from a business standpoint, to me, it does not make sense right now to move on from Frank. From a business standpoint, strictly speaking about where you're talking about from a dollar standpoint, because you look at potentially what South Carolina could be in store for next year. Does that mean the future will be extremely bright after next season? And then the season's, but no, of course, you got to be able to carry that momentum. But I look at it as, okay, you got to obviously wait and see what happens with Gigi Jackson. That's a big, big part of it. And I can tell you that South Carolina is nudging for him to be able to make that decision quicker maybe than he wants to. And I'm not saying making it feel like, he's uncomfortable, but they obviously want to be able to say, hey, if you're sticking around, let us know, because that will take some of that doubt out of people's minds here at South Carolina. I'm not saying every fan or every administrator, but that will certainly help a little bit as well. But you look at, too, guys like Jermaine Couisnard, guys like Eric Stevenson, who Frank said after the postgame or in postgame after the game on Thursday against Mississippi State that he expects both those guys to be back next season. Now, has he had those conversations to officially confirm that? No, but he shared that from the conversations that they have had throughout the season, especially towards the end, that was something that he anticipates, despite them walking on senior day, which a lot of seniors are doing it, and they still come back the next season. So I'm laying that all out there because if you're looking at where this program goes, if they move on from Frank, that's not to say you can't bring in someone and have success, but I don't want to compare it to football because it's not football. It's the complete opposite of football. There's less players on the team. It's just different to be able to create a culture change and be able to get everyone in. And if Frank's gone, Jermaine Couisnard, Eric Stevenson, could they come back next season? Certainly. But I do believe it makes it a little bit more challenging because now you're in a situation where you have a new coach coming in and you have to put your faith and confidence in them that they might sit here and tell you, okay, we're in a rebuild, or, oh, we're not going to be in a rebuild. And you're in that, no man's land, and you have to decide what's best for you, your family, and your future. So I say this because I think, we get by these next 24 to 48 hours. I think we're going to be all right with Frank until we get to maybe April 1st again, April 2nd, and we have to wait and see. I've heard different things in terms of it going back and forth. I mean, shoot, a week ago, everything seemed great. Coming back from Tampa, some of that percentage dropped down a little bit, but a lot of it has to do with Gigi Jackson. And, I might sound like a hypocrite because a couple months ago, I was like, you can't make a decision on a coach because of one player.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the same time, too, you look at if you're able to get him the other pieces that could come, and the fact that he's a local guy, if he's able to come in here and have success, it can really change the mold. And we saw what happened when guys like PJ Dozier and Sindarius Thornwell did that during the Final Four year. So bottom line is this: as of right now, nothing to report on. We'll continue to keep you updated on Gamecock Central, but as of right now, and obviously this is very fluid, things can always happen. But I think the big thing is going to be, and I don't have an exact date yet, but we're going to look into that later today, is when Frank Martin is expected to have his end of the year evaluation with Ray Tanner. Something that happens at the end of the year for every coach, but because they did not make the NIT now, that conversation will happen sooner rather than later.
Two things just to put in here. A, it doesn't make me comfortable at all that a young man, whether he's being nudged or not, he understands the impact of his recruiting decision. And that to me, I've said this all along, that it's a very uncomfortable thing. And then the other part about all of this, his name, Martin's, is floated. It's not high on any list, but it's out there on at least 2 lists that I've seen. Mm-hmm. So the possibility of, hey, maybe we can give you a soft landing if you find another job, see Mike White, then that exists as well. That's another part of all of this going on.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think, look, this happened last year to an extent, right? Mm-hmm. Where the administration was kind of like, hey, look, Frank, if you get an opportunity, let us know. And obviously that's like one of those things. It's like the elephant in the room, but it's never actually going to be like addressed, because it's like, well, what are you talking about? We gave Frank a contract extension. Frank's back. Well, yes and no. You gave Frank a fairy dust contract extension. You did that more so from a recruiting standpoint, so that when he went out to recruits, he can say, hey, look, I'm going to be here. I have X amount of years still left in my contract, instead of going in there and saying, well, I only have 1 year left, which we know from a flip side can create dirty recruiting with other coaches when they go out and say, well, you're talking to South Carolina. Well, you realize Frank only has 1 year left. So that was all fairy dust. Nothing changed at the buyout. Nothing changed from a bonus standpoint or anything like that. The contract all stayed the same in that regard. So I think the reality is that, for Frank, if he, number one, wants to be here, and I think, look, he's butt heads with people in the administration. I mean, I think that is well documented. And he feels a little slighted by some people that he feels in his opinion didn't have his back. But at the same time, too, he loves being in South Carolina. His kids go to high school here, or, the kids that are still in high school, they still, they still live here. He obviously has the opportunity to coach his son, Brandon, which if he did come back, we expect Brandon to come back for another season to be able to play for his father, because he has that 5th year of eligibility because of COVID. So, it's a unique situation that Frank is in if he's able to stay here at South Carolina. But look, I get it. I get it from a fan standpoint where you're frustrated. You want to be able to see more. Nothing was able to, I wouldn't say nothing, but you weren't able to turn that Final Four year into more tournament appearances. I understand that. I understand the frustration. I think the tough part is when you look at the history of South Carolina basketball, I think Gamecock fans to an extent were spoiled with that Final Four. I think it gave them that taste of like, hey, this is what we expect. And you should. That's awesome. You should have that. You want to be able to raise the bar. But I feel like because of that, because of what's happened over the last couple seasons, it's really cranked things up. I mean, if South Carolina made the first round of that tournament that year and got bounced, are we sitting here maybe? I don't know. Maybe Frank doesn't hang on as long because you're able to point back to that Final Four. But I feel like from a fan standpoint, some people look at it and it's just like, oh, we expect to – I'm not saying they expect to get to the Final Four every year. We expect to get to the tournament and do this and that. It's just like you just look at some of the coaches, and you guys know better than me. You look at some of the coaches they brought in before Frank outside of the Darren Horn experiment. But they were able to bring some talented coaches in here, and they just weren't able to get things to that level that Frank was able to. So I know at some point you could have the greatest coach in the world. Frank could go somewhere else and he could go win a national championship or do this or that. But sometimes it's just not the right situation to be in with the current situation you're in, right? Just kind of like dating a girl or dating a guy, whatever, right? The relationship itself might be a good person. It just didn't work. So at some point, yes, you're going to have to rip that Band-Aid off if you don't feel like you're making those steps. But at least in my opinion right now, I feel like you ride it out one more year just because of the benefits that you're going to receive from a financial situation, because the reality is there's still financial burdens that are lingering because of COVID. And I know some fans don't want to hear that should be a decision that or that should be part of what goes into a decision, but that's just the reality of where we're at today.
Yeah, well, a couple quick points to make on that, Mike, is, one, fans are seeing now what's happening around the SEC outside of the Will Wade situation and Mike White leaving for Georgia. I mean, Mississippi State is set to move on from Ben Howland. Missouri has already done so. Georgia has done so. You're seeing movement, and people are looking at this going, well, they're doing it. Why aren't we doing it? And I think everybody's situation is a little bit different. You brought up something that we have talked about a lot about around here, and I continue to ask these questions. Nobody has the answers. Why can't anybody sustain success at South Carolina? Eddie Fogler was an elite basketball coach at Vanderbilt, and then Carolina hires him, and he builds it up, gets it in year 4 to where they're good. They won the SEC. They get upset in the first round. They get upset in the first round the following year. Can't sustain it. Dave Odom, hell of a career at Wake, comes to South Carolina, gets them into a dance. They get beat in the first round by Memphis in like the worst basketball game ever played. And by both teams, by the way, there was only like 40 combined points. And they win a couple NIT championships, can't sustain it. Darren Horn actually was successful before he came to South Carolina. He was not a good fit for the Gamecocks, but he was successful, and he's been successful since he left. Frank, we all know how successful he was. Why can't anybody sustain it here? I mean, the coaching side of this, we need to get that figured out, and I understand that. But somebody also needs to figure out what the hell is it about South Carolina that you can't sustain success on the basketball floor. You got all the resources over there, and they can't figure it out. So there's a lot of questions that need to be asked and answered, Mike. Maybe that's something you can do as the elite journalist you are with Gamecock Central, and take a deep dive into the program over since they've joined the SEC. What's happened around them, and why can't they figure it out on a more successful level? And by the way, what is that? I mean, Frank has raised the floor. They don't, outside of COVID last year, they have not had a losing season since 2013. Okay. So that's a lot different than what it's been around here. And the Final Four run raised expectations again. I think people thought probably 2 out of every 4 or 5 years you should be in the dance, and they haven't. Let me ask you this, not to ramble. Have they communicated at all, the administration and Frank, since the final game last week? Do you know?
I mean, I know Frank and Ray, they talk, just like a lot of coaches and athletic directors, they talk, periodically throughout the week. I'm not sure about that situation. I know the team left on Friday, so they stayed after the game Thursday. They left Friday. I know Ray, I don't know exactly when Ray left, but I know Ray got back for the baseball series. But of course, with the game getting changed on Friday, there was no, didn't have to get back right away. So I don't know if they flew out together on the team plane or not. But of course, Ray has been a busy man. He was in Nashville last week for the women's basketball tournament. We saw him down there in Tampa this past week. And then I know he went over to see the baseball team play. Then he was also at the Selection Sunday show at Colonial Life Arena for women's last night to support Dawn Staley and the women's basketball team. So I know he's been on the move so much, but I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they've had conversations, but are those conversations any different from their normal conversations with each other? Probably not. I think you don't have any of those conversations that I think we're specifically speaking of until the season's over. I think there was maybe some speculation as to whether or not, because we saw the situation with Mississippi State with Ben Howland, could there be a possibility where Ray talks to Frank and says, all right, we're going to move on, but, if you want to coach the NIT, you can coach the NIT if you guys make it in there. I don't think that happened. I think that's extremely awkward, number one, but number two, I just can't see Frank doing that. That's just my opinion. I could be totally wrong, but if they're like, you know what, Frank, we're not going to bring you back next year. But if you want to coach the NIT, why do that? I mean, no disrespect to Ben Howland. You want to do that? Hey, all the power to you. I mean, Ben's first year at Mississippi State was my first year in Mississippi. So, I had an opportunity to meet him, great guy and everything. But I can tell you right now, personality standpoint, a little bit different than Frank. So I just can't see Frank saying, oh, yeah, sure. I'm going to be gone. Yeah, we'll do a farewell tour. Give me the microphone afterwards, Coach K style. And, I'll apologize to the fans if we lose. Let me finish. No, it's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But to go back to one of the things you mentioned, and I think it all depends who you talk to. You talk to some people that are close to that program. They don't feel like they have the same type of support that other programs have on campus. And what do I mean by that? Well, football, of course, is king. We know football is going to be king. Women's basketball, because of Title IX, because of the money that they're able to get, because it's the same as men's basketball, they're able to do things that put them on just a totally another level. And then obviously it helps when you have a coach like Don Staley. That's just going to be a game changer. That's just, that's not saying anything that people don't know. But I just, there's a sense that they don't have that same support. And when I say support, I'm not specifically talking about the fans. I'm talking from the administration. They don't feel like they have the same support in that, some of the things that they want to do. And I don't have the specifics for you right now, but talking, like I said, talking to people that are close to that program, that's how they feel. How do you change that? Well, it's easy to point fingers. Oh, blame Ray. It's not just a Ray thing. It's not just a Ray thing, because just like anything, it goes through different levels to be able to get approved for different things. So I don't know the specifics of what men's basketball maybe wants a little bit more of, but I do know that some of those conversations over time, it doesn't necessarily just go to Ray and it's just like, oh, Ray Tanner can either solve all the problems or end it. It's just not how it works. But I think some fans feel like if something doesn't get done, it's blame Ray. It's not always the case.
Mike, we got to leave it there because we do have Wingo coming up, but I would echo those. I've known Coach Tanner a long time and don't work in that AD's office, but I can tell you something. People don't know the half of it with what Coach Tanner deals with from time. Look, you can give him criticism all you want. I'm not going to tell anybody they can or can't criticize Coach Tanner. He's athletics director.
Comes with the territory.
That comes with the territory. I get it. That's okay. That's fair. But there are some things that come across his desk that are, wow. Some of it nothing to do. So, well, we'll keep our eyes peeled. I know if you've been paying attention, On 3 Sports is just today named Gigi Jackson the new #1 player in the country. So we'll see what type of effect that has on things, and we'll see what it means, if anything, down the stretch for Frank. Carolina beat Texas this weekend. Mike, go enjoy some positive Gamecock Twitter for a day or two.
Yep, and one more note, the new episode of the podcast with Marcus Lattimore, he did a phenomenal job of explaining some of the personal conversations he had one-on-one with Marshawn Lloyd and reaching out to him immediately after he tore his ACL in 2020. So some really good stuff from Marcus and, a deeper dive, taking a look into spring football, what goes into it, what leads up, during the winter workouts as well. And just some good stuff from him. So grateful for that. So go check it out. BLEAV in South Carolina. Believe in South Carolina podcast.
Believe without the E's.
Believe without the E.
Believe. Or the I. Yeah. Or the I. Yeah, that's right. BLEV.
Tell Wingo. I don't know if he's in the waiting room. Wingo, I'm sorry that I'm holding you up, pal. I'll get you a drink next time.
No, he's on the phone. He's on the phone. We're gonna get into all the antics of Texas, and
he's a big wig. He's a big wig guy. I don't want to give his location away, but sometimes before the season, just popping into the wig, big wig guy.
Easy.
I thought you were talking about wigs. Like, I don't even know what the big wig is. Like, all right, I didn't know he wore wigs.
Yeah, no. Wingo wears a wig. Yes, breaking news.
He used to. He doesn't anymore. Thanks, Mike. Have a wonderful week, bud.
Take care, guys.
There you go, Mike. Of course, spring football starts tomorrow, too, so Mike's going to be all over that. Wes Mitchell will join us tomorrow, actually, for the start of football practice. All right, time for a timeout. When we return, speaking of Wingo, we're winging with Wingo right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
1:08 final hour on a gorgeous Monday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. The Share Healthcare chat lines, they are open. I've got a couple of things in from the app as well. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater. Quickly from the SEC, Brant Belk named SEC Co-Player of the Week, and no shocker here, Matthew Becker has been named the SEC's Co-Pitcher of the Week. They were fantastic in helping South Carolina take down number 1. The Longhorns came to Founders Park and left number 2 after 2 losses yesterday in a doubleheader sweep at the hands of the mighty Gamecocks. And this guy knows something about being number 1. Scott Wingo. He's now an assistant coach for South Carolina, former all-everything for the Gamecock baseball program, joins us to tell us all about it. Congratulations, Scotty. What's up, brother?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Well,
feels good. Feels good coming off a series win on a Monday. I tell you
that. It's amazing how it can all change in a week, huh? You go out there this week.
Winning can cure all, can it?
Man, yeah, it can. And they're just, outside of the locker room, Scott, there's a lot of people that were doubting that y'all could win a game, let alone the series, and you owned it yesterday. That was fantastic. Walk us through it. We got a bunch of specific things to get to, but kind of walk us through the weekend and how it all unfolded. What'd you see out of your guys?
Well, I thought Saturday we fought. I mean, it wasn't the best game, but I just liked our guys, their fight in them on Saturday, and I think that carried over in Sunday. And obviously, we had Will Sanders go game one and step up big for us for 6 innings. I want to say 6 strikeouts, but he set the tone for us. But just going into that day, you could see the guys, they were ready to fight from the first pitch. And obviously Becker came in game 2 and just was unbelievable. That start right there was awesome, and I think it started with on the mound, but man, we had, I want to say 14 hits game 2. The guys were just ready to go, and that was awesome to see us kind of put the foot down and say, all right, you got us game 1. Now it's go time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Scott. You mentioned those hits. How about this, boys and girls? Check it out. The top-ranked pitching staff in the country walked into Founders Park this weekend. That would be Texas, and they left with the Gamecocks wiping them out for a combined weekend average of 344. I mean, and if by my count, Scott, only one ball left the yard. So you just kind of peppered him gap to gap and found base hits in clutch situations, back up the middle, finding holes and things of that nature. Overall, I don't know that y'all could be much happier with what you did from an offensive standpoint.
Right. I mean, that was a big hit from Madden there to kind of get that thing going. I want to say that put us up 2-1, I believe, but man, that was big. I mean, 14 hits. Should have had 20 hits in about 16 innings. That's a good little day right there.
Yeah.
I felt battle with 2 strikes. Still didn't get hit by a couple pitches. I was, we could have won, but overall, awesome day. Great day for the Gamecocks for sure.
Hey, yeah, we took down the Longhorns this weekend, but I'll be damned we didn't get hit by enough pitches.
I'm over there just grunting over there every time we don't wear a pitch, but we're gonna get better at that.
Scotty, what did you think when Braylon Wimmer made the play behind second, ranging to his right, and he didn't take any extra steps? He got the ball out of his glove and he threw a missile to first base. What'd you think about that play?
That was awesome. I mean, he's so long. His long legs, long arms. Like that play right there is that's something that he can make. That it's just tougher on a normal average height guy. He kind of can just get down there and just do it pretty easily. We always talk with Wimmer about staying low and staying in his legs a little bit more, but for him, he's so long that he can he can play below the ball, not necessarily getting down like you would teach, but he's been doing a great job. He's been playing hard, and he's obviously been huge for us so far. So it's good to see Wimpiece making those plays like that, man. That was awesome. Unbelievable play.
We're going to get to some of the specific performances in just a minute, Bear and Sanders and Braswell and all those guys, but there is certainly some conversation in the Carolina baseball world about some of the things that were happening on the Texas side, and I just want to ask you about that. Let's start with the Melendez kid who hit the home run and kind of flipped the bat back towards the mound. What were the conversations like in the dugout after that happened?
Well, honestly, there wasn't a lot of chatter. There wasn't a lot of talk. I'm not a big bat flip guy.
No.
You don't like seeing it getting near the mound. I mean, that's tough. For me, now it's, this day and age, everybody, I feel like a lot of people are bat flipping, but just for me, when it gets near the mound like that or near our dugout, that's when it kind of crosses the line. But not a lot of chatter. And I know we hit that next guy. We didn't mean to hit him, but yeah.
You should have.
Didn't like to see the bat flip near the mound for sure. So that kind of fired our guys up, no doubt about it. And I think, you want to do things the right way. And I'm not talking trash about Melendez or anything, but the game kind of knows, the game kind of rewards you for doing things the right way. And not saying that's what happened yesterday, but we were definitely, there's a little bit of fight there after you kind of get showed up on your own field.
Yeah, look, that kid's an outstanding player. I don't want to take anything away from him. And I'm gonna be honest, Scotty, and I know you're an old soul of the game, although we all understand baseball and how it's evolved a little bit. There's a lot more emotion than there used to be. I certainly don't remember the days of pitchers getting fired up and punching their chests and stuff when they strike out a guy in the third inning. But that's kind of where it is, and it is what it is. But yeah, I was saying all that. I didn't like it. It seemed like they were pretty chattery over there. There was some word about them maybe moving the batters, the on deck circle around, and I saw guys mouthing off at Brant Belk, and of course he slapped one in the right field and asked them what they were hearing now and things of that nature. But just overall, I mean, we all have a lot of respect for Texas, Scott. We love college baseball, and this program is one of the best to ever do it. But after seeing them this weekend, what type of team are they?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a good team. I mean, Melendez is a threat every time he gets in the box. I mean, that guy can hit, and I like Hodo as well, leadoff guy, and the shortstop. That guy's got some tools. I mean, that's a long, athletic. I mean, guy can drive the ball and play pretty good shortstop. I mean, they've got a lot of tools. They might be a little bit banged up on the mound right now, but that's a dang good ball club that came in here, and we were luckily, able to get 2 wins. But yeah, that's a good team. I mean,
let me rephrase that question. Regardless of how good they are as players, are they a mouthy bunch or not?
I didn't hear a ton. I know when Belk squared the bunt, they didn't like that, but we didn't like the bat flip either. So
that's right.
Yeah, it's like, what are we doing?
Exactly.
So, yeah, Belk's a feisty thing too. So when Belk gets going, it's tough to get him, to stop him. But that's okay. At some point, that's okay too. I mean, shoot, he's a fiery thing. That's what you'd rather that than somebody that you got to tell him to get going. But yeah, Belk didn't like that for sure, and then he laced a single to right. So yeah, I mean, it got a little fiery late in the game.
Scott Wingo here at 117 on a Monday afternoon. Gamecocks take down the Longhorns this weekend. All right, Scott, you mentioned banged up on the pitching with their pitching staff. Yeah, well, y'all are pretty banged up yourselves, and you roll out. We'll get to Sanders in a minute. By the way, I want to tip our hats to Noah Hall because I think he did about all he could do on Saturday trying to get this thing off on the right foot. But we got to turn the attention to Becker. I mean, I think I mentioned to you last week or maybe the week before, I didn't even know who this kid was. And the first time I saw him, I thought, man, he's got some stuff. This kid's got a chance. And then yesterday, he was outstanding. And Scotty, I really want to zero in on one moment and let you take it from there. And it's what happened. The Melendez kid hit that baseball as far as you could see. I mean, they got it at 493 feet. But if the ticket office wasn't in the way, it would have gone well over 500. I mean, that ball was crushed, and he didn't flinch. That was the only hit he allowed. After a ball flies out of the yard like that, a lot of young guys are going to crumble, Scott, and this kid got better. Talk about Matt Becker and his performance.
Oh, no doubt. Matthew Becker put the Cox on his back yesterday, man. I mean, that was freaking awesome. Like, that showed some toughness about him. He wasn't scared at all. Didn't blink an eye when he gave up the bomb to Melendez. And being a freshman, coming there and understanding, hey, series is on the line. He showed some grit, and just that was huge performance, and obviously a great sign going forward because that's that's huge. We obviously need another piece, weekend arm, and hopefully that can be a little staple going forward, because that was 6 innings, 11 strikeouts. That's incredible, man. And that hopefully he can kind of build on that and keep rolling.
What do you like about him? Like, describe his stuff. What do you see from him?
Well, he's long. I mean, he's downhill a little bit, and when he can command his pitches. I mean, left-handed pitcher that got a good curveball and some good run to it. I mean, that spin rate's pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to get people out when you can command it, throw that curveball, and have that fastball with some ride. That's gonna get some hitters out. I mean, no doubt about it. 6 innings, 11 strikeouts. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. There's no doubt. I'm assuming that Mark is going to address this week, so I don't want to put you in the shoes of your head coach, Scott, but something tells me there's a good chance he stays in the rotation.
If I had to take a guess,
Good guess, Scotty. Good guess, man.
Hey, don't, like my dad says, I hear my dad talking to his customers. Hey, don't quote me on that.
Yep, don't worry.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well,
I saw Smoke this weekend. Him and Mike Disco.
Yeah, they ended up, I know, making it up there. I guess, what was that, Saturday? Saturday.
Yeah. The 2002 team was here.
Yeah. Yeah, they had their little gathering. Soup was up there, and Drew and all those guys. You see any of those guys?
Yeah, I saw all of them before the game. Saturday, went up there to their little tailgate and just said hello. And on Friday, I gave Drew Meyer, Steve Thomas, and Yaron Peters' son's little tour around the facility. So
nice.
That was pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Well, Yaron Peters, Melendez thinks he can hit it far. He couldn't hit it half as far as Yaron Peters used to hit it.
Sure.
My gut also tells me, Scotty, that Will Sanders is going to stay in the rotation.
Maybe.
Right? I think we can all agree on that. I thought it was a brilliant move to start him in the 7-inning game, because you knew you had to eat innings, and you knew you could probably eat almost 7 with your ace, and you got him 6, and then Braswell came in there and was really good to shut it down. But Sanders and his makeup, taking the ball down a game in the series against the top-rated team in the country, you got what you expected. Kind of describe him, if you can, just in a nutshell.
Well, Will's he's a competitor. He's the nicest kid in the world, but when he gets on that mound in that dugout, he gets fired up, and it's good to see, because when you got your ace, that's a fiery, competitive guy. I mean, that rubs off on the pitchers and the other players. So, Will Sanders, when he gets on that mound, and he cares a lot. He goes about his business the right way. Probably one of the hardest workers on the team, and he's getting kind of rewarded for that. He's doing some awesome things, and just he works hard and he competes. So when he goes out there, you got a shot, and he's going to be fighting and giving you everything he's got.
He is a true ace, Scott. How about collectively, just the freshmen? I mean, I know we've hit on Becker, but have we continue to see this masterful start to his career from Michael Braswell? I will say I saw something on Twitter last night from somebody that said he's the best freshman to ever come through South Carolina's baseball program. I thought, well, hold on just a second here. We're 15 games into the season. I've seen a lot of great freshmen come through this program. You just mentioned one of them who hit, only 18 home runs his rookie year in Smoke. So we'll wait and see. But collectively, man, the Horning kid's playing a lot. Saw Lambros get some good innings this weekend. Maybe he's starting to come into it a little bit. The Stone kid, Talmadge LeCroy. I mean, there's a lot of young guys that are getting some PT, and they're literally having to grow up quickly. And I thought overall this weekend, all of those guys did just that. I thought they had a good weekend.
I did too. You mentioned Lambros. He got a lot better this fall and in the spring. and it's good to see him kind of have a nice little day yesterday. Stone too. I mean, Stone can go get a ball in center field about as good as anybody. And yeah, I mean, we've got some freshmen. Lee Croy, I mean, he'll fight you. Really love Lee Croy, man. He'll give you a great at bat, and he can really play anywhere. Shoot, you put him anywhere on the field, he'll play it. He's just a baseball player. But yeah, there's some young guys that are really helping us, and they're kind of hopefully grow up fast and help us win some games.
I hope so, because next up is on the road at 7th-ranked Tennessee, and then you're home against, I believe it's 3rd-ranked Vanderbilt, and so on and so forth. You know, Scotty, we'll let you get out of here in just a second, but where are y'all? You know, where do you think you are? You know, you're 9-6, 15 games in. You get swept by Clemson, and then you take the series from Texas. It's kind of hard to understand, but it's baseball.
Yeah.
You know, as one of the coaches of this program, where do you think your guys are, and where are you trying to get them in the near future?
Right. I mean, you know, I know it's a cliche thing to say, but you just got to take it day by day. I mean, right now 9-6. Yeah, you want to be better than that, but you kind of build off what you just did, and obviously want to continue to push forward. We know we're waiting on a few arms to get back. We think when we get a few of those back, that's going to really help us. But in the meantime, come the part ready to go every day, because I feel like if you kind of look down the road a little bit, then you're not really staying in that day. So we're going to try to take it day by day and go hopefully beat Gardner-Webb tomorrow, and then put those eyes on Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah, you know, beating Gardner-Webb would be a good thing. That gets you to 10 wins, Scotty, and we wouldn't have to close the bridges. So just try to win that one tomorrow night if you can. You know, that's where my former bald roommate got his start. You know, Nick Godwin. He was at Gardner-Webb before SMC in Carolina.
That's right.
Yeah, you might have to get him out there tomorrow night.
Well, you know, I played with Godwin. Shoot, Godwin was 2008.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, but we all know he was about 35 years old in that year. He's aged. Scotty, why don't you?
What's Godwin doing right now?
Probably working, but you know, about 5 o'clock he'll be sitting in his recliner drinking beer. That's it. Why don't you get him out there tomorrow night to throw the first pitch?
Hey, is he in Columbia? Tell him to come on.
Why not?
Yeah, that's what I always tell him. I'm like, dude,
hey,
you live. I'm like, man, you live 5 minutes from the ballpark, and you don't ever want to go down there unless I come into town and basically make you go. So you need to get him down there.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll text you. Watch
this. Let me make sure I got his number. I'll text him right now.
Yeah, don't share his number publicly, but yeah, make sure you got it. If you don't, you let me know, and we'll take care of that. All right, Scotty.
Okay.
Go get him, man. Congratulations. What a wonderful weekend. Hey, by the way, real quick, I saw this. I wasn't sure if it's true. I know we've already kind of crossed this bridge, but did Texas move the on deck circle? Was that what happened?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of just like comical. I mean, yeah, the shortstop, I guess the umpire told him he could be at a certain angle. So he decided to move the batter circle over. I don't know. It kind of was just
Jesus.
I don't even know what you call it. But yeah, they moved it over and just started swinging on it. And then they moved him back over. It was just third base umpire. I suppose it looked like the third base umpire, the home plate guy weren't on the same page. So he told him to move it back. A little bit of a crapshoot right there, but
yeah. What did Mark? What was Coach King saying?
He was just being I don't even know if he was saying anything. Everybody's just like, "What are we doing?" Like,
right? Yeah.
Are we really moving the batter circle? Is it that big of a deal? Like,
right?
Okay, we just want to play some baseball here, boys.
Yeah. Just freaking hit the baseball. You know, I mean, just
Just get in the box.
I mean, just get in the box or swing the damn bat, man. I mean, yeah, I agree with
box,
you.
Man.
Scott, congratulations, man. Really great weekend for you guys, and go get them tomorrow night, and go up there to Lindsey Nelson this weekend and take it to them.
We'll do it, man. Good talking to you guys.
Always, brother. Take care. There you go, Scott Wingo. Winging it with Wingo, I think, is what we came up with. By the way, in the last 2 years, Tennessee is 40-8 at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. So it's going to be a difficult task to go in there this weekend. First things first, we never remember what happened last week against Xavier. Don't want that to happen again. You're South Carolina. You need to probably beat Gardner-Webb tomorrow night and keep this train on the tracks. That would be a 3-game winning streak. So I don't know if we really call that an interview. We just kind of talked to him, and I can't help but laugh. I'm sorry, but
he's funny. I mean, he just kind of slinging it off the hip. He's fun, and I mean, he's gonna die on that hill of we need to get hit more.
Yeah,
that hill. He's on that. It's not going away.
No, it's not. Well, I mean, look, I'll tell you, this weekend it was impressive. They hit 344 against the top pitching staff in the country. They only struck out 23 times. While that might sound like a lot, it's a little over 7.5 a game. That's not much at all in today's game. And they really yesterday in that doubleheader, Darren found a way to get it done with runners in scoring position, and maybe they're growing up a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, there was a ton of panic, right after Clemson, there was panic, and then the loss to Xavier, and there was obviously lots of panic right then. But
yeah,
I tried to pretty much stay back and said, look, we're like halfway, not even. We're a quarter of the way into the season, barely. Well, let's see. So now, what are they going to do when they go to Tennessee?
Yeah, well, that's right.
Easier. So
bingo, you hit the nail on the head. You took down Texas. What are you going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with it? And if they lose the series at Tennessee this weekend, it doesn't mean that they didn't do anything with it. Tennessee is really good, like really good.
Mm-hmm.
So the next couple of series at Founders Park, if I'm not mistaken, are 4th ranked Vanderbilt, 15th ranked Georgia, and top ranked Ole Miss.
Easy.
Should be a lot of fun if you want to get out watching baseball. Elsewhere this weekend in baseball, that's the wrong sheet, Darren. How about this one? Let's actually give what happened. Clemson took 2 of 3 from Northeastern, couldn't get the sweep. It was their first loss of the season yesterday. Northeastern's got a pretty good team. They've got 4 wins over ACC programs now. They swept NC State and took 1 of 2 at Doug Kingsmore from the Tigers. Clemson's best start since 1992. An incredible run thus far for Monty Lee and his program. Coastal took 2 of 3 from Xavier. Xavier's been in South Carolina for about a month. It's time for them to go home.
There's something going on in Cary, North Carolina, at the baseball complex, because Penn State's been hanging out there for weeks. Xavier was there too at one point, I believe. So I don't know how many northern teams are kind of getting a good portion of their season underway in Cary.
Well, they need to get the hell out of here, at least Xavier. They're ruining it for everybody. College of Charleston is now 9-7 on the season. They took 2 of 3 from UMass Lowell this week, and Cougs need to get it going. Citadel is 10-5. They took 2 of 3 from Siena. And Charleston Southern, Darren, here we go. They were swept by Canisius this weekend. They went from losing their first 4 to winning their next 8 to now losing 6 straight. It has been a strange start to the season for Charleston Southern baseball. So that's a little bit of your baseball roundup there. Also, if you missed the news this morning, Devontae Holloman officially hired at South Carolina on the football staff. We talked to Shane Beamer a few weeks ago about this and asked him, and he said, yeah, false report, and it was. But it is now confirmed. It looks like they had some hurdles to clear, but he is joining the staff as a defensive analyst, and so he will be on that side of the ball with former Gamecock Shaq Wilson. Pat DeMarco is a former football player on the offensive side as well. All right, it is time for our final timeout, but when we return, Gene Sapakoff is here, and we'll literally talk to him about everything, including Freddie Freeman, golf, Tom Brady, March Madness, college baseball, college football. I mean, we're going to try to squeeze it all in, so don't go anywhere. Gene Sapakoff up next. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
It's the best time of the year on the sports calendar, and there's no better place to soak it all in than your spring headquarters. Dog and Duck, with 3 area locations in Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road. Until May, $5 pints of Wicked Weed Brews and Devil's Backbone. Again, until May. Patio seating, happy hour daily. Family bingo on Monday, the Duck Truck Double Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday. It's the place to be for the best wings in town, the best sports everywhere you look. Dog and Duck, 3 area locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road. Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, final segment, Monday afternoon, the JB and Goldwater Show. Thanks to Mike, Uva, and Scott Wingo for joining us thus far today. And here he comes, 8 times Sports Writer of the Year, Gene Sapakoff, to wrap it up. Hey, man.
March Madness, zaniness, wackiness. You just can't believe it.
I can't tell if you sound sincere or just completely kidding. You're right down that line for me.
I was just talking about the NFC South. You know, Deshaun Watson, rumors, and Tom Brady, and then basketball too.
Yeah. Do you think that was staged? Like Brady was like, let's wait until they're about to announce the field, and then the bracket. We're gonna throw our ring and name in the ring here. You think he intentionally did that?
I don't know. It kind of tells me that he's not a big college basketball fan, because why would he do that? You know, top stage, 68 teams in women's and 68 teams in men's basketball. That's not cool.
No, not cool at all. I don't know who he thinks he is, where he thinks he has that type of leverage and pull.
Exactly.
Yeah. Brady. Exactly. So are the Bucks? I mean, are they now instantly the favorites to win the NFC again because he's back?
I'm not sure. Probably so, but the Saints and Panthers dueling for Deshaun Watson is sure going to be interesting. And what, if any, sort of penalty he gets from the NFL will be even more fascinating.
Do you think he'll get penalized?
Well, Ben Roethlisberger, it's an interesting case in the sexual or assault misconduct thing that he had happen, got 8 games without a criminal conviction. So, I mean, I think there's probably something like that ahead for Deshaun if, as these civil cases unfold. But it's hard to make a prediction when it comes to legal matters, and especially those involving sexual assault. Or he's not accused of sexual assault, but sexual misconduct and, all the things that allegedly occurred in Houston. So, yeah, I should make clear again that he's not accused of sexual assault.
Is it worth the risk for a team? Because we don't have, and throw in, you have no idea what the NFL is going to do, let alone what charges could be out there. They have proven that. Is it worth the risk for a team to trade picks and players for a guy that you don't even know how much he's going to play?
I can only assume, Darren, that what owner Tepper, one of the richest and smartest guys of the Panthers, is saying, and this is probably the same with the other teams interested in Deshaun, is that I want to win. I think the fans want to win, and winning tops these other things. I'm not saying that's the way to look at it, but that's the way they are. And if it works out and they're winning, again, look at the Roethlisberger cases and how much he did for Pittsburgh, then yeah, I guess that's the way they rationalize it. But it's going to be tough. And, I know you don't want to talk Panthers football the whole time here, but it is weird that David Tepper is the owner of the Panthers because the previous owner was drummed out of town for, making salacious comments, whatever, inappropriate behavior towards women. And now the big splash for David Tepper is going to be bringing in Deshaun Watson. Again, he hasn't been found guilty of anything in criminal court, and these civil cases are yet to unfold, but it's an odd situation.
There's no doubt about that. Real final one on that. If Deshaun, where would you lean that he ends up? New Orleans or Carolina? I mean, I know there's a bunch of teams in play here, but New Orleans, Carolina, one or the other, if you had to pick.
I really think David Tepper is going to go overpay for this, and he really wants it to happen. And I think the Panthers might be the favorite. And I think he also believes that he'll get Deshaun Watson to think that, hey, I'm coming back to an area where people really liked me, to say the least, and I had success, and maybe he'd be more comfortable here. From Deshaun Watson's perspective, though, I'm not sure either the Saints or Panthers are the best team that would be interested. And if he could get to Pittsburgh, that might be the best situation. I think the Texans are going to want to have him in the NFC, not in the AFC.
All right. On to what we saw yesterday in March Madness. Any gripes with the bracket, Gene?
I mean, there's always, I get irritated, guys, and I've said this before, with people that complain about who didn't make the cut. And I used to be one of those, that poor bubble team, but the college football playoff era in which we're complaining about the number 4 versus number 5, it just, I lack sympathy for somebody not making a 68 team field. But within that 68 team field, and I saw you tweeted this out too, Jamie, and so did I yesterday, I thought Tennessee got absolutely hosed. Yeah. I think some people were making a case for them as a number 1. I thought they should have been a solid number 2, ahead of both Auburn and Kentucky, among other teams, for winning the tournament that the SEC uses to crown its official champion. And having said all that, I think they're in a really good spot. Yeah. The way they shape up, and that they can at least get to the Sweet 16.
That's exactly what Darren said.
That's exactly what I said there, and about not really wanting to get, all tied up in knots about a team that didn't make a 68 team field. I think Tennessee would be behind Kentucky and Auburn. I understand the gripe getting up to 2, but bigger picture, I think they're in a better spot. And semantics at that point, right? I mean, overall, they did a good job.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the other thing about Tennessee is, they went to geographically a good place. And like you said, I mean, they're looking at certainly a winnable game against Longwood. And then, Michigan, Colorado State. I have confidence that Josiah Jordan-James is the best player on the court among all those teams. And so Rick Barnes could maybe get to the Sweet 16. Now, having said all that, remember that he's had some pretty well-documented struggles in early games in the NCAA tournament and in the NCAA tournament as a whole. So we'll just have to see. But, boy, they sure look good at the SEC tournament.
That's a great point. I mentioned this to Darren earlier, Gene. I personally thought A&M should have been in the field. The two gripes I had were that in Tennessee. But all that being said, the bigger issue that I personally had were the lack of comments and then some other comments that didn't make any sense to me. I mean, if we're going to say things like, well, these games being played on Sunday don't matter, then they don't need to play championship games on Sunday. There's no reason for a championship game not matter at all. And the other comments were, when asked for clarity, you saw the vice chairman of the committee on TV last night on the Tennessee Duke situation. You saw Lenardi. I mean, Lenardi's response was, well, they just weren't going to do that. Well, there's got to be a why. You can't just say, well, they're not going to do that. So I think the lack of clarity as to why Tennessee was a 3, and then this all of a sudden this narrative out there that these championship games don't matter on Sunday when it comes to seeding. Well, then we don't need to play on Sunday. They need to play on Saturday to give the committee some more time. That was, to me, a bigger issue.
Well, also, too, and, looking at the women's bracket fairly carefully because the Gamecocks are in it, it was clear to me and to some of the commentators last night and analysts that the women obviously value conference championships more than the men did. And you talk about, Jamie, the Sunday situation with Tennessee, but even Virginia Tech. Now, I know that most people had them on the bubble at best, maybe, first 4 out before they play the ACC championship game against Duke, and then they end up as a number 11 seed. But the thing is, they did beat Duke in the ACC championship game, and they're just an 11. I mean, right. I think I would have them a 9, at least a 10. Having said all that, boy, are the Hokies playing really well, and what a turnaround from a regular season finale loss to Clemson. I like them over Texas.
I was about to say they're going to be a very trendy 11-6 pick when brackets are filled out starting now.
And as efficient as they are offensively, if they get Purdue in the next game, that's going to be another popular pick if they're coming off an upset of Texas.
Yeah. And Mike Young, I mean, we know what a great coach he was at Wofford, and that with Wofford won an NCAA tournament game, which, go walk around the Wofford campus and just shake your head at that how good he was at getting them to NCAA tournament after Big Dance. I mean, it was amazing. And I just have to say here, not only did the College of Charleston pass on him twice for head coach, I mean, that's not just like, hey, they considered him. They brought him in for interviews.
Yep. Oh, yeah. He's never lost a conference championship game. He won them all at Wofford, and now he's won his first and his only at Virginia Tech. All right, Gene, we're not going to get into NIT bubble talk or anything of that nature. Nobody really cares. Although some certainly feel South Carolina had a reason to be included in the NIT, but they're not included in the NIT. They're going to be home this year in postseason basketball. So what's next for the Gamecock men's basketball program?
I mean, you would think that in the next few days, a decision would be made in which Frank Martin is no longer the coach, whether that's a resignation, that they work out something where he gets all or most of his $3 million buyout as is in his contract. I don't know. Maybe he decides to go into broadcasting. It's possible he gets another college coaching job, and it's also possible that University of South Carolina finds some role for him in the administration. But I would think that would be in the next few days, mostly to give the school a little bit of a head start in finding its next basketball coach. And I'd be surprised if it goes much longer than a couple of days.
Does it impact the timeline, the fact that the SEC is going to have about half of its coaches or teams looking for coaches?
Darren, I don't think you can rush things just based on outside factors, but yeah, I mean, the market is pretty heavy with openings here, unusually so in the region. And I think if you're looking at the same coach that one of the other SEC schools is, you want to be able to make your play for that person.
Well, if they were looking at the same coach as Georgia, they lost because Georgia just hired Mike White from Florida, which seemed like an escape, like a going to sprout for Mike White, Gene. Like, yeah, you know what? Let me get out of here before things get really bad. Let me take this into my own hands, and he's off to Athens. Did it feel like that for you?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. That was one of those you're ahead of the posse things, and that's happened, a lot in college basketball. I think, Oliver Purnell going from Clemson to DePaul was kind of like that. And there have been many other cases that, we could address, but yeah, that's what it felt like. But can you imagine if, Georgia took Florida's football coach or vice versa, there'd be slightly more noise about that.
Oh yeah. I think it would be. That's a great point. All right. Let me ask you this. When you look back, and again, no decisions have been made, at least that we're aware of, at South Carolina regarding the future of Frank Martin. When you look back at previous tenures that have ended, Darren Horn, Dave Odom, Eddie Fogler, Steve Newton, I mean, you can go on and on and on. Where would you compare, like, let's say it ended today for Frank. They announced that he's not going to return as the head coach for Carolina. Where would you compare this program and how he's leaving it based on all of his predecessors?
Okay, well, there's two ways to look at that. If you're saying, like, where did he leave it talent-wise, in the transfer portal era, that question is almost moot. Because, like, for instance, I think the College of Charleston had 9 new players last year. Creighton made the tournament this year with losing all their starters and getting a whole bunch of guys out of the portal. So every single guy in the South Carolina roster could leave. And you don't know what kind of team they would come back next year with. We're assuming, Frank Martin's gone with a new coach. Could be 10 new players, and they could be really good players or not so good players. So as far as talent in the transfer portal era, that's a moot point almost. As far as prestige, I think he definitely left it better than he found it, unquestionably. I would compare it to the way, Eddie Fogler left it for Dave Odom, and he left a program that had won an SEC regular season championship and had 2 very high seeds in the NCAA tournament, both things that were unprecedented since the Frank McGuire era, that kind of stuff. And I think it benefited Odom to some extent. How well he took advantage of it, I don't know. That's going to be the key to whoever follows Frank Martin. But guys, I mean, this program can get to the Final Four. This program can win multiple NCAA tournament games in the same season. If you just said that after Darren Horn, people just would have laughed at you. That's Frank Martin's legacy, and there really ought to be a statue.
How good is the SEC, Gene?
I mean, it's not only is it really good, and it's the 3rd rated conference, and I think you could make a case that it's 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
I will say those top 4 are really bunched up in there too, because Big 10, Big 12, SEC, Big East. I mean, those are good. Look at the teams that got in from those leagues. But it's really good. And I've said this so many times, and I know you guys have too, but Frank Martin's responsible for a lot of that. Right after that 2017 Final Four run is when Greg Sankey got with athletic directors around the SEC. And not only did he say, we want to get better at basketball, he talked about scheduling and mandates and things like that. And look at all the outstanding coaches that have been hired since the Gamecocks appeared in Arizona in the Final Four. I actually saw it. I was there. It really happened. South Carolina played in the Final Four. They played Gonzaga. There's film available. And since then, the SEC has just gotten better and better.
That's a great point. Carolina finished 9-9 in the league this year, and it was a good one. All right. The women, they seemingly are the favorites to win it all, Gene. What is the biggest roadblock in front of them?
They're going to get Iowa State winner. First of all, Iowa State, that game ought to be played in Cedar Rapids or someplace. But that is going to be a tough game. And as far as getting to Minneapolis, you know how difficult that can be if a UConn team that's now healthy and playing pretty well, evidently, and you're going to have Stanford and who the heck who knows who else could be in Minneapolis, but it's going to be tough. And I just think that Don Staley's team is going to be playing kind of angry because of that loss in the SEC tournament to Kentucky, and that they will really be ready to fight anyone that thinks they can't win a national championship.
Do you think that it's fair to say South Carolina's biggest roadblock to winning the national championship is South Carolina?
Probably so. And there's no team that has so much pressure on them. And it's not just this season's pressure. This group could have, should have, might have finished with 3 national championships. 2020, they're the best team in the country, number 1, and they don't get to play because of COVID. Last year, they were really the best team in San Antonio, and they get upset in the Final Four semifinal. And then this year, I mean, they're just heavy favorites to win it all. So you're almost carrying the burden of 3 years, not just we're a good team this year. And that the core group is there, starting with Aaliyah Boston, of course. And so I do think though that they're so strong-minded, and Don Staley is so strong-minded that they can absolutely, not only can they handle it, they welcome it.
All right. It's not fair to ask this, but we're going to do it anyway. Have you made a pick for who wins the men's and women's national championships this year? Do you have a favorite?
I'm going with the Gamecocks for the women, and I'm going to put I'm not exactly going to pick a number 8 seed here, but I do have a number 2 winning the men. I really like Villanova. I've liked them all year. I think Colin Gillespie and Jermaine Samuels coming back with the extra year of eligibility. They have veteran players, a real good coach in Jay Wright. I like the way they are set up in their region, and I think Villanova can win the national championship.
Wow. Very nice. Good pick, Gene. All right, baseball. Carolina gets swept by Clemson. They take 2 of 3 from the top-ranked Longhorns in Columbia this weekend. Your thoughts?
Talking some Gamecock baseball people off the ledge last week.
Right.
And, I think you can look at early season college baseball results, and you have to take it not exactly with a grain of salt, but with some perspective. All kinds of weird scores and things have been happening out there in the first 3 weeks now. So here we have the Gamecocks facing mighty Texas in game 2 of a doubleheader, and Coach Kingston trots out Matthew Becker, a freshman from Chapin, South Carolina, but he's a tall lefty, and what does he do? He completely baffles the Longhorns, and that was pretty cool. And I'll tell you what, Matthew Becker at Chapin wasn't just a good baseball player. He's a really good football player, and that toughness and perspective from him, I think, really showed up. And I just continue to marvel at the freshman shortstop Michael Braswell, who got it hit in every game against Texas. I think he's hitting like 15 straight games. He's hitting 417. And boy, is he fun to watch on defense.
Gene, they hit 344 against the top pitching staff in the country this weekend. 344. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that is something that will carry. And I think this Texas series this is why you play series like this, because a month from now, when you're trying to win the rubber game of an SEC series on the road, you talk about what we did against Texas. I mean, I just think that was so cool, to have them win that series. And hey, the Longhorns playing at College Charleston in the Citadel here. Maybe Texas. I don't know. But I know a lot of Texas baseball people listen to your show. Maybe Texas can escape the Palmetto State with a winning record. I'm not sure if they can, but I guess it's possible.
Yeah, they got the Cougs tomorrow. They need to kick it in gear a little bit, and then they got the Citadel on Wednesday. You're right, Gene. Final quick one here. We've watched this for a long time. We know kind of what the margins are when it comes to seeding and things like that later on in the year for the tournament, but it feels when you take 2 of 3 from the top ranked team in the country, you've almost bought yourself an extra loss. And what I mean by that is, let's say you go 15-15 or 14-16, generally with that record in the league in the SEC, you're in, no questions asked. But if you go 13-17, but they look back at that and you took 2 of 3 from Texas, you've kind of bought an extra loss there generally. So this series, as long as they can kind of take care of business in the league as best they can, probably can take them a long ways that people aren't thinking about right now.
That's right. And it's going to be huge in the RPI, as you're implying there. And remember, this is the road, not to TD Ameritrade Ballpark or whatever it's called. It's now Charles Schwab Field. That's right. Omaha's baseball stadium is Charles Schwab Field. So that's where they're trying to get.
Exactly. Charles Schwab Field, TD Ameritrade. They've sold out to the big bucks. All right, Gene, final one for you here. Spring training is underway, but Freddie Freeman, not yet on the field for the Braves. Your prediction for Freddie?
I still think he ends up there, and it'll be interesting to see if he goes to the Dodgers, the Yankees, or something, what the Braves do. Do they go after Anthony Rizzo or one of the other free agent first basemen, or try to move some parts around on their roster? They already have some non-roster first baseman guys signed, but none of the caliber of a Freddie Freeman or an Anthony Rizzo for that matter.
Absolutely. What's in the paper this week?
Well, it's going to be fun to see David Cloninger all over the Frank Martin situation.
Yeah.
And we will also have great coverage of the USC women hosting the first round of the NCAA tournament. And John Blau and I will be popping into Greenville to see what Duke and Auburn and other squads that are in that NCAA first and second round in Greenville, what they're going to be doing on Friday and Sunday.
How many David Cloningers do you have? Because the women are the number one seed in Columbia. The men, we don't know who the coach is going to be. The South Carolina baseball team just beat Texas. They got to head to Tennessee, a top 10 matchup this weekend. And tomorrow spring practice starts in Columbia. Is there only one?
I'm glad you pointed that out, because we say that exact same thing at the Post and Courier all the time. I'm telling you what, David Cloninger is the most versatile and busy and just cranking it out beat writer in the SEC, if not the country. And we are very lucky to have him.
Oh, you are. He is outstanding. He is outstanding. So are you, Gene. And as always, we were very versatile today. We had a lot to get to. Probably didn't get in depth as much as we wanted to with certain topics. Not to mention, by the way, the players are still on the course down in Ponte Vedra Beach. But we'll do it again next week. We'll see if we can pin it down to just a couple of topics next Monday.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having
me. Thanks, Gene. Gene was on short rest, too, because we had him late last week.
Yes.
And early this week. By the way, at the players, it is a tie at the top. Lahiri and Cam Smith has taken the lead. Cam Smith at 10 under, 3 under through 3. So he's birdie to start. Wow. All right. Could have a photo finish. Keep our eyes on the players. I can't remember who's on tomorrow. Oh, yeah, Wes Mitchell's on tomorrow. Keith Alsep's on tomorrow. And you never know. We're obviously monitoring change, so things could be shifting quickly. I know tomorrow night's the first four, so we're looking forward to that. We got baseball this week, spring football. Crazy stuff, Darren. Thanks to Scott Wingo, Mike Uva, Gene Sapakoff, Darren Goldwater, and all of you. Have a marvelous Monday afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the JB and Goldwater Show.